Kia ora. ALTBAYS show is live, brought to you by ALTBAYS.nz. This is show 127. Yeah. Ooh. Can.
Yeah.
Oh, that was quite short and Taylor. Can we?
Yeah.
DJ. It's been a pleasure having all these conversations, getting to know people in depth. Not always. Some people are quite reserved, but we still give it a good damn go. If you're watching us right now, it's because you are on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, you should, hello, Sushi, you should subscribe to our channel because that helps our growth. Yes, thank you very much. You can also join our platform. There's a button there called join. And when you click that, it gives you an option to throw some dollars to the team. We're not going to take our clothes off. It depends how much you give, but we could consider. Okay? I don't know if it's going to be suitable for the YouTube thing. Oh, yeah. We're also a podcast, as you know. So if you want, the people around me is like, why did we say yes for this shit?
Place I didn't expect.
I know, right? Yeah, it took a turn. Suddenly took a turn. Is that what we're talking about? We are a platform. We are a podcast, obviously. So you will find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcast, and iHeartRadio. All those main leading podcast platforms. We're there. Just search for ALTBAYS. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And now we will be running a local magazine in January called Coromind. So if you are in the region, if you are in the Coromando and you would like to write, to collaborate, or to advertise even better, get in touch. So it's hello@Coromind, COROMIND.NZ, or you can get in touch with ALTBAYS and we will pass to the Coromind team. It's a beautiful collaborative work. We are very excited about what we're putting out there in January. So get in touch. It's Friday night and I have Jess on my side. Hello, Jess.
Hello.
How are you?
Fantastic.
You and your apple?
Yeah, I did. I brought a little snack.
Healthy.
Yeah, balance out the lovely treat we've got in front of us here.
What a treat, eh?
It is.
How is the Christmas, pre-Christmas madness going for you?
Not too bad.
Yeah?
It's pretty sort of steady, slow and steady at the moment. Not like anything crazy, but I'm sure next month it'll sort of ramp up a bit.
It will. It will.
Keeps me busy.
Do you always drive the New Zealand Post van, or like there are other transports, like there are the bikes and the motor? What's the thing? I
only drive the van because I only do parcel. Well, I mostly only do parcels, and if I'm doing mail, it's just PO box mail. So I just am in the the Kiwi Bank.
Kiwi Bank.
There's like a part where you get your mail in there, and I just
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So mostly I just drive that.
Are you enjoying it? Are you having fun doing that?
That's very cool.
Amazing.
Very cool.
Learning new things, learning all the well, I guess you always knew the streets in Whitianga, but now you know them like in detail.
When I first started, and I grew up here, so when I first started, I was like, how the heck am I going to learn all these streets? But now that I sort of mostly go the same places every day, and I literally mostly go to the same houses every day.
My house.
Sort of is just, and I think, if I look at something and I go, I don't know where that is, I sort of go, I know where this is, so this must be either next door or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. So speaking of houses that you go all the time, tonight here in the show.
What an intro.
What an intro. So we have the pleasure to chat with Anusha, BHANA, Anusha, BHANA, and Dave Rhodes. Hello.
Hello.
Kia ora.
Hi. Kia ora.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
A little bit nervous.
A little bit nervous?
Yeah.
Me too.
You're very good at the hosting though.
Am I?
Yeah.
It's all the drugs that I take before the show. They make me very calm. For all the students watching, this was a joke. How are the parcels coming, Dave, for you for Christmas? Are they all
good,
getting on time?
Yeah.
I actually didn't visit today.
No.
So,
Haven't seen you for a few days.
actually, yeah, it has been a few days.
Do you need to buy some more gear?
The last thing you brought to my house was pretty exciting.
Was it that quite big, eh? It was quite big.
That was a subwoofer for the studio.
Yes. What about you, Anusha? Is it all the parcels coming for Dave, or you have something?
I don't think I've brought very many for you.
No,
Maybe a few.
I don't do as much shopping as you do.
You keep it cool. They will.
It's mostly books or clothes, and that's about
Leather
it.
bag, very cool leather bag recently.
Oh, the bag came,
Yeah.
from a place in Raglan, actually, handmade leather.
Oh my god, was it called Soul?
Yes,
Oh my god, so that's my partner's auntie who owns that place and runs that place.
it's
Yeah.
just over there on the chair. I've been
Oh my
looking for a
God.
leather satchel for ages, and I've been googling, and then found it. And
She'll be so stoked.
yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. There you go.
So they made us for Christmas last year. They made us all like little card wallets.
Oh,
Each,
nice.
and they just gave everyone out like a little card wallet. Very cool.
Oh, nice. There you go. There you go. So you guys just got back from Christchurch, is that right? Like not just, but like recently. What?
Very quick trip to Christchurch.
For a very special
We
reason.
went down to see Jack White, which was awesome.
Yeah. Tell me about the show. How was it? Tell me more. Give me details, man. Come on.
It was really, really good. And, I mean, obviously quite a long way to go for a concert on a Monday. I know. And, but we saw the tickets come up, and then, I've always wanted to see him. You haven't seen him live, eh?
Just big day out from miles away.
Yeah. And, kind of just decided, why not? Why not? Because he might not ever come back. And I love good live music. And
Haven't seen a concert since before COVID.
yeah, it's
Oh,
been a few
really?
years. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's the first international act we've seen, actually.
Oh yeah, sorry, first international anyway.
So,
Yeah, it was killer.
so Dave, for the people who don't know, music producer, sound engineer, do you go to gigs and you keep analyzing everything that is happening, or
100%.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
it's a
Anusha.
problem. She gets pretty sick of it.
but do you have to comment? Do you have to tell Anusha what's going on?
I
or-
can't help it. You hear about 5% of what's going on in my head.
We do find,
And that's
we
too
do-
much.
Yeah, we do end up finding good spots when where it sounds the best, because we're very particular
Good.
about it. So we had general admission standing tickets, and we were kind of standing in the middle in front of the sound desk, and it just wasn't. Well, you didn't think it was right, and then we kind of moved around a little bit and ended up sitting, which is
Yeah, weird.
different.
New
Yeah.
venue, amazing new venue, Christchurch Town Hall, beautiful building. Weird sound.
Weird sound.
Weird in the middle, which is usually where it's the best. And then we moved back into the sides, and it sounded great.
Right.
So,
I
don't know.
found that at the Auckland town hall. We went to see Idols. Do you guys know
Yeah,
this band,
yeah.
Idols?
yeah, awesome.
Beautiful bands. But then that's what happened. Like we were right in the middle where the mosh pit was alive, and that was
Yeah.
our main reason. Taylor and I were like, man, it's gonna be one of those shows that we're not gonna stop, right? But the sound, it felt like he was going past us in a way, like, and I could see that the speakers were pointing
Yeah.
to the crowd, but for some reason it was kind of like missing that.
Yeah.
that weird, eh?
It's weird. Yeah.
Like what in general, we don't want to get too technical, but like what are the things that usually like you feel like that people miss? Like is it like too much bass, or is it just like volume? What are the things that usually you like?
Well, what I was missing was just detail. It just sounded muddy. Couldn't hear any definition between the instruments, which is probably, I have no idea. I don't do live sound, so I can critique it as much as possible. But I mean, I don't know what's actually going on, you know. But I know where it sounds better, you know. We just move around till it sounds good.
Nice. Did you find him good on stage, like a good performer, like talking to the crowd, or he was in his zone and just
He
doing?
was just in his zone. He hardly talked to the crowd at all, actually. Maybe introduced a couple of songs, and then he said something at the end, you know, thank you. And then it was his first time coming to South Island, New Zealand as well. So he said a little bit about that at the end. But yeah, he was in the zone. The rest of the band were incredible. The drummer was
Yeah, insane.
next level. Yeah.
Oh.
Cool. Before we carry on with that, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors tonight, beautiful people from Slice, baby. Dun, 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 dun. For bringing some beautiful Kai here for us, 23 Albert Street. So if you are coming to the Coromandel for holidays, make sure to check them out. And if you are local, of course, support locals, man. Beautiful pizza, sourdough based. They always bring us some vegans and vegetarian options. Now they also send us some salmon pizza. Amazing. Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks so much for the beautiful family that support us every Friday. We have this fun Friday with pizza and some wine.
We came on a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually how I convinced Anusha and Dave. They were like, we're not going, man.
Pizza and wine.
And they were like, come on, guys, a little bit of pizza, a little bit of wine. And they're like, yeah,
Sold.
cool, sold, done. Anusha, that's it. Cool, we can go home now. Anusha, what I saw that you posted was that Jack White requested the audience to not use their phones.
Yeah.
So how was that experience? Like, you guys didn't have to leave the phone at the front. So he just asked
No.
politely to not.
Actually, a guy came on at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
He, I don't even, he must be part of the band or something, or like
Could have been
part
a tour
of the-
manager or something.
part of the crew, and he sort of just said, like, Jack has requested that everyone put their phones away and be in the moment, is what he said, actually experience it fully without having to get your phone out and take a video or take a photo and stuff. And I think we read about and watched a lot of his interviews and stuff before the concert, and each set list for each concert is different. So, and he makes it up on the spot,
Yeah.
right? Which I thought was just really, really
Wow.
cool. So I think part of his creative process is just, he doesn't want to look
crazy.
out the crowd and see
Yeah.
everybody holding their phones up,
Yes.
Did you see some people being
Yes.
sneaky?
Yes.
Yeah.
Couple, not many though.
No,
Not
not
many.
many.
Not many at all.
Yeah.
Was there many people there?
It was sold out.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how big that venue is, but it was packed.
Wow.
It was cool. That whole set list thing is crazy. Like that band has something like 150 songs memorized, and he'll just turn around and just start playing a song, and they just have to keep up. Like it's
Wow.
nuts.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's real cool.
How do you guys see this relationship now with technology, and we are recording and getting every single moment of our lives and storing it somewhere that everybody thought it was in the cloud. And after Russia doing all the crazy things, we realized that there's a lot of cables going under the sea, and like people are trying to cut it.
Yeah.
So how is this thing for you guys? Because you've been in the industry for years, like doing gigs. And Anusha, I guess you've been out there watching gigs and loving live shows. And how is that experience for you guys with technology nowadays?
I mean, neither of us could do our jobs without technology. It's entirely dependent on being able to send large files around the place. And your social stuff is just always...
I guess my brain is always, and I'm like got a bit of a marketing thing in my brain, like, oh, I should probably take a photo of this or video this for later content. I try not to do it too much personally in my personal life, but it's become a bit of a habit, I think. So it was nice to be asked to not at that show, I think, and I don't think I took my phone out until the very end. Hey, maybe just to check the time at the end because they was wrapping up, but yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm the opposite because I don't tend to take photos of anything anyway. So, as you discovered when you tried to make a post today, and you're like, "Can I have your photos from Christchurch?" And there wasn't a single photo from when we left home to when we got home.
Yeah.
Do you think like we are transitioning to a moment that we might not even need the cell phones? It will be all like, I don't know, glasses.
Well, they tried that, it didn't really work.
Yeah, they tried
Yeah?
the Google glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was a thing.
But
That's
now
why they don't use them
there's-
now.
Sometimes they're just too soon with that stuff.
Because there was Snapchat glasses, wasn't there, for a
Oh
while?
God, was it?
really
So, I think
Snapchat
so.
glasses.
I think so, but obviously they didn't take off either. So can't have been that good,
Okay, so Anusha, communications, digital marketing. So how long have you been doing this for? And I saw in one of your posts recently that now you're exclusively working for non-profit organization, or not exclusively, like you try to give more attention to those
I
jobs?
think so. it's been about 8 years, and it's been 8 years since I graduated from my communications degree, and tried working with a few different places, like a few different, like maybe corporate, government, not-for-profit, but not-for-profit and charities is where my heart is. So it's I think the communications and the marketing stuff comes more naturally for me when I'm writing about or creating content for something that I care about. Whereas with government jobs or corporate jobs, it was a bit more of an effort. I had to really, think about it and almost force myself to sell a product or sell something that I wasn't, completely in love with. So I think that, it's been a journey to sort of get to that place where I'm like, okay, this, not-for-profit and charities is where I want to be. That's where I want to focus my attention, and there's plenty of need for marketing and communications in that field as well. So I'm really lucky.
So when you say non-profit charities, like, it doesn't mean that there's no money involved. It means that there's, like, we're not aiming for big things. Like, so the money comes mainly from fundings or other big businesses that support this one. How does that work?
A little bit of both, from funding grants, from sometimes corporate sponsorship, from fundraising, running crowdfunding campaigns, donations from people who support the work. I think one of the biggest challenges for any charity is to be able to have enough funding streams to be able to do whatever good they're trying to do in the community. So it's the money comes from a lot of different places, and it's there's a whole lot of communications and marketing that goes into that as well, in terms of getting people to give donations or give to a crowdfunding campaign or something like that.
How much does the government support these organizations from your experience?
Well, I think there's some larger charities that maybe get a little bit more support. Lately, I think maybe in the last few years, I've been working with more smaller charities who don't have that kind of support. And they do rely a lot on successful funding grants and fundraising on a yearly basis to make sure they have enough money to pay their staff to do whatever work they need to do in the community. So I think there's definitely some gaps around, where government funds go to help the for-purpose sector.
Is it hard for like a charity to ask the government for funds for things?
Yeah, I think, definitely.
Like, is it a process, like they have to say, we need the money for this, so it's going to go towards this?
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of advocacy and lobbying involved in that as well. And like, you can just, like, an example of it is Gumboot Friday and the counselling services for, rangatahi in New Zealand. Mike King's been pleading for a long time with the government to put funds into free counselling services for kids, and it hasn't quite happened, and he's had to really rally a lot of people to raise money for that, which feels really doesn't feel right to me, that there's this issue of youth suicide in this country and
it's not taken seriously enough. I just watched the video actually of him announcing on The Rock that they made $3 million or $3.3 million, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
very, very cool.
But then a lot of do you feel like other organizations miss out when one gets a lot of media attention and a lot of money? Because that's the thing that I see as a big shame. Like, when you don't have the government supporting, like, it's not spread out evenly. That's why I oppose a little bit of that idea that people say, oh, we need more private companies. And I'm like, private companies will defend more of their interests. Even if they're doing good things, they will select who they want to help. But if you have an idea of community, of a society that the government is looking, I know that it's not perfect, I wish it was, but it feels like it would be fair that the government would know where to go. But it's unfortunately it's not like that.
I don't think so. I'm definitely not an expert in that area, but I do have witnessed how powerful grassroots change can be. So, you know, change coming from the community. You know, if there's an issue in your community and you raise the money and you start making that change yourself, it feels more impactful than if it's coming, you know, top down from the government, who, you know, there's a whole lot of bureaucracy and red tape and all that kind of stuff, and they want to do it their way and all that thing. So I guess that's probably another thing that attracts me to working with smaller charities and like smaller projects that are trying to address some kind of issue, and it means more because it's the people that are doing it, the people that are, you know, being affected, who have lived experience of something, and they're trying to make a change. Doesn't mean that it doesn't piss me off that the government doesn't help, you know, like, yeah.
When it comes to music, Dave, because I guess you had and you still have this wide range of people who come to work with you. Probably people with a lot of money. They're like, people are, you know, like they have hours.
There's no musicians with a lot of money.
Oh, damn, man.
Sorry, man. Burst that bubble.
Wrong country.
Wrong country. Wrong industry.
So let's start from
Wrong
there.
decade,
Okay,
maybe?
so instead of going there and trying to get that vibe of like the distribution of it, like maybe we can talk about what the music industry in New Zealand is for you. Like how would you see it? Because I guess you get to study a little bit and you get to work with people from overseas.
Yep. I work with all sorts of people from all different levels. So the majority of the people I work with are funding their stuff themselves. Actually, no, everybody's funding their own things, whether they're, you know, if someone might give them an advance from a label or something, but they're still going to end up paying for it themselves eventually. So bands are always paying for stuff themselves. But most of the bands I work with won't ever recoup that money for the recording costs because they're just, you know, playing a few shows a month or one show a month, you know, to their mates, whatever.
Has it changed, or it's been like that in New Zealand? Because like we had the labels, right? We had the record labels. What? They were the strongest thing. Like what? 15 years ago, or am I being too?
20, maybe.
20.
Yeah.
Was that different at the time? Like, would you have more?
So they were still going when I got started, and I was involved in a couple of fairly big budget major label things. But that died almost just when I was getting going, so I haven't really experienced that.
Right. So now would it be more like the artists in New Zealand who are doing great, who are doing well, when you compare to artists overseas who are doing great, is it fair game?
I mean, there's obviously some artists that are doing great, and they'll play sold out, you know, Power Station or sold out festivals or whatever, and they're making enough money from those shows to be able to afford to live, and actually most of them work day jobs as well, but a reasonable bit of money. And then that'll pay for their next lot of recordings and the publicity for the recordings and the music videos and all of that stuff, which costs a lot of money. But they're not rolling in it, you know, unless they're 660 was the one that comes to mind.
And I think I won't say that is a problem, but it's a sad thing that like you can name what 3, 4, 5 artists, Aotearoa artists that actually are.
But that would have been the same throughout the years. I mean, there's always going to be one or two that are at the top. I think the difference now is that pop music has gone international, but I'm not involved in pop music. I only work with bands and mostly rock and metal, so I can't speak for that at all. But I know that, you know, obviously there's been some big pop solo artists who have succeeded internationally. I'm sure they're making some money.
When you guys, because you both worked at the depot in Devonport.
Yeah, that's where we met.
That's where we met.
Yeah.
That's where we met you too.
Yes, exactly. So that was a cool space that was open for different types of art, right? Not just music.
Yeah, it was a gallery as well.
I
And
did
a bunch of other things.
publications and arts lab, so like arts mentoring.
Yeah, it was like an employment program for artists funded by MSD. That was the main income source for that place.
Do you guys feel like it's easier for people who are keen and want to make a living out of the arts to try to go for those collaborations, like to work in a space that there is more happening, or you're actually bringing more trouble?
Collaboration's always good, I feel. Like, I don't know if it helps with finances, but it definitely helps with creating art. I just feel like that's why I really like working with bands rather than solo artists, because it's a collaboration of 3 or 4 people, and I just find that way more interesting than one person doing everything.
And it was definitely a community there, you know, an arts community. I mean, you know, you and Stu played at Fauzi's exhibition, and people who, you know, came to record at the studio or were part of publications or in the actual exhibition itself, like everybody was there at that event. So I think that is really important, and I actually think that that's something that's missing from Whitianga, is like if there was a depot art space type thing here, like some kind of arts hub that people could, you know, go to, and, you know, there'd be exhibitions, there'd be a space to do music and all that kind of stuff. So
would a place like that in a small town like this one, or even in the Coromandel area, how would it survive for you guys? Like, how would you see it, a place like that, surviving from your experience?
It would have to be community funded, wouldn't it?
Yeah?
yeah, I think because the main funding for the depot came from the careers, the career mentoring program, and that was like funded by a Ministry of Social Development. So, and that enabled the owners to do all the other things. So there would, you know, there would have to be something in the mix there to help it.
Because you can't rely on government grants, because it might be great for a year or two and then it disappears. And, you know, if you want it to be sustainable, it needs to either have an income source that it's generating or have something else. And I mean, that's always the hard part, isn't it? There's no shortage of artists.
Would the demographics help or play against? For being smaller, you guys believe that? Sorry for saying guys, I'm trying to stop saying that. After what I read after Wednesday, after our show on Wednesday, that I learned so much. I read this article that said a good way to support the LGBTQ plus community is to not use the word guys.
I do that all the time.
Sorry folks, sorry friends. So
That's a Kiwi thing, though, isn't
so
it?
Kiwi,
I know, I learned here.
Yeah.
I learned in New Zealand, so I can.
I'm notorious for that. I work with a all-girl punk band I just mixed an album for, and I keep starting the emails because I go to all of them. So I'm like, hey guys, blah, 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 and I'm like, this doesn't make
There's
sense.
no guy there.
There's not even one guy in this band. Yeah.
Anyway, do you folks think that it would be easier in a small place to get the community involved, to start something, or it's harder because then if they start to give up and then you don't have numbers to fill up? What's your vision? Because I want to get to the subject of like this big change that you guys did from the city to Coromandel, so it's a nice way to ease into it.
I think it would be harder. I mean, the Depot Art Space is in Devonport, and so there was a, you know, specific arts community there. But I guess it depends, because we were also, when we first came here, we were, or not first, but in the second year that we were here, we were involved with Creative Mercury Bay, and I also worked at Creative Coromandel as well. And it was, you know, it's hard work keeping it going in a small place. It was harder than I thought it was going to be because, you know, less funding opportunities, less volunteers, sometimes less people.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to get volunteers.
Yeah, sometimes less people coming to gigs or events and stuff like that. So, but I don't know. I mean, there's no art gallery or anything. There's no official art gallery in Whitianga anymore since Mosaic's gone from Whiti, and the Bread and Butter Gallery is gone as well. So I think the art person in me wants something like the Depot, just, you know.
Because there's that... the what's it called? The yellow door, but that's over the other side, isn't
that's
it?
Hahe, I think, yeah.
And I think, is that mostly, it's not music related, right?
I think more visual arts.
Yeah, they do like movies and
they have done movie music events, yeah.
But even there, like, it's even more isolated, right?
Sure.
So the way that I see it, I think it's an attractive because the place it's pretty special. So what I've been like from 9 years that I've been here, I see this gap of like we should be having more different events throughout the year. So like every third week, something, you know, like a little festival, like doesn't have to be all about the arts, but things that involve bringing people to the Coromandel more often, you know, like, and I see businesses with the potential to like, you know, get a bus, bring a group from here, a group from there, or like put a good gig that will make, because people are keen to spend a weekend in a beautiful place like the Coromandel, especially if there's something cool happening. But and that's something that we envision, you know, like with this, like we're trying to create a movement that other people see. Oh, okay, if we do a little bit, and everyone does a little bit, you know, it becomes something. Because
definitely need everybody to do a little bit.
And it's hard to get people to do a little bit.
Exactly.
Because I think that's kind of what we found working with Creative Mercury Bay, and that is that there wasn't enough people doing a little bit. You know, we had obviously our core team, but there was we needed more from the community, and so we ended up doing more than we could. Basically, it was a voluntary thing, so. It was hard to sustain as a contractor.
I mean, we both work a lot of hours on our actual jobs, which we need to do, and trying to then add on a whole lot of voluntary stuff on top, it's hard work.
Is it too much to say that one of the reasons is because now we have so much entertainment coming from devices and apps and Netflix and all those things like that? I'm not giving shit to them, like I use all of them, but it's easy to tick that box of some entertainment, you know, like we got it, we're watching a movie or we're doing something, and then you don't even bother going out. Is it too much to say that can be a contributor?
Absolutely, a contributor.
But you know, so are sports games.
Oh yeah,
I mean, sorry. I mean,
but it's another kind of entertainment. Don't you think?
Sports.
Yeah.
It like in a perfect. We should have space for both, right? So like if you go to a rugby game in the afternoon and then there's a gig.
Yeah, the problem is that they put the rugby games on at the same time as gigs.
Yep.
As gigs.
Same time.
And then you know you're in a bar trying to play a gig and you have to wait. It's like, why did they hire a band? Rugby's on the TV.
Yeah. That's right.
Anyway.
That sounds like a bit of a sore spot there, one.
But I from what I got, it's nothing against the sport itself. It's more like the management of how these things are being put to the I'm trying, Dave. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Sorry, man. I don't want to alienate your entire audience.
It's good. It's good. That's why we're here for. But
what were you going to say? I'm trying to answer your question about the technology. I don't think so, because people that are passionate about music or arts will still go to things if they want to go, and if there's something good on that's worth going to.
Like flying to Christchurch for a concert.
Yeah.
Yes.
On a Monday.
Yes. Freelance life. That's fine. We can fit 5 days of work into 3 days.
Do you guys think that people
do a show on the Friday night?
Do you guys feel like on that list of essential things in life, you know, the pyramid, you know, of like things that you have?
Maslow's hierarchy.
Say it again, please.
Maslow's hierarchy?
Yes. Do you guys feel like we drop the entertainment too quickly for whatever happens? The reason why I asked this is because my parents had a function venue in Brazil for 25 years, and it was specifically for like children's party.
Okay. Yeah.
And every time that there was a crisis or something, we were the ones struggling the most, because what is the first thing that you stop?
Yeah.
You stop paying for parties and for those events.
For sure.
Do you guys feel like it's the same when it comes to consuming arts, or not really? It depends on the time and space.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
I think like going to gigs and art related things are probably like higher on my priority list maybe than some other people. I don't know, because that's where my interests lie. So if so and so is coming to Auckland for a gig, I'm gonna, and I haven't seen them before and I really want to go, I'm gonna do whatever I can to make it happen. there was a time when that wasn't possible because of money, because of not having, you know, enough income, or being a student, or, you know, being on the dole and all sorts of things. So I feel very fortunate that I can go participate in that kind of stuff. And I, like, we've really enjoyed all the local community arts related stuff that's been happening here. And I think it's only getting better, actually. Like, everything that's happening at the Monkey House, you know, like, that's kind of what we always envisioned would eventually happen, is there'd be regular things that we could go to. Like, we got open mic night. I don't sing. You do the sound. I watch.
DJing.
We
DJing. Woo, she's a DJ now.
But yeah, I think for me personally, it's higher on my priority list. So I'm looking for those opportunities all the time.
Yeah, so we might not be the best people to ask about that, because it's something we will prioritise.
Yeah. You guys, so Dave, you grew up in the Coromandel?
Yes.
Yes.
Whenua-Kiri.
Yes. And Auckland, Anusha?
Yes, Auckland.
Cool. And then how many years did you live in Auckland, Dave? So how was the thing? Like, you lived here?
My parents moved here when I was 1 from Hamilton, and I lived here till I was about 18, and I moved to Auckland. Stayed there until about 3 years ago. Came back here.
So, like, pretty much your whole musical, like, career was...
Yeah, that's in Auckland. Yeah.
That was there.
Was it hard to transition it to here from there? Because it's obviously such a
big
town.
Yeah, so most of my clients are still either in Auckland or overseas. So I have done some stuff with some local artists, and I would love to do more, but just the reality is that there's not enough people here.
Yeah. So when they're, say, overseas, do they send you a file and you do your magic? And
Totally. Yep. Yeah, in various states. Some of them are nice and tidy and I can do it quickly and easily, and some of them are a big mess.
I mean, for people who don't know what music producing is, like myself, what is it that you do?
Okay.
Great question. Relax, Anusha.
There's quite a bit of... Yeah, okay. So obviously there's different styles of music and there's different styles of producers. I tend to produce rock music and rock bands and metal bands and anything that's got instruments in it. I don't do a lot of computer-based music. So if I'm working with an artist from the start, then I'll probably start with pre-production, work on their songwriting with them a little bit, maybe go to band practice, make sure that they're all playing the song right. Then we'll go into a studio, record it, and I'll do all the engineering and making sure they're playing it right, making sure everything's working, probably fixing up some bits and pieces as we go along. And then I'll bring it back here. So I often do that in Auckland or other places where sometimes in Hamilton. Some bands have come down here to record in my studio, but my studio is not huge, so it depends on how much...
This is where you come out of when I bring the parcels,
Yeah. Looks like a shed. So then I'll bring it back here for mixing. So most of the time when I'm here, I'm mixing.
And what's mixing?
Nice. Thank you.
I know.
3 interviewers. So that's when I take all the individual instruments and things that have been recorded either by me, or to answer your other question about if someone sends me stuff, then I haven't been involved in the process up until this. Right. So someone else has done the recording and hopefully producing. So then it's a case of I've got a track for every instrument and every drum and everything, sometimes hundreds of tracks. And then I balance them and fiddle around with them until it all sounds like one cohesive thing.
Like a song.
Yes. Hopefully the goal is it sounds like a song. 100%, yeah.
Cool.
Dave, it took me... I'm a drummer. So
me too.
Thank you. That's why you're here. It took me... Well, there's that great joke that I love, and I love to say it, that, like, we're not musicians, we're drummers. You know? I see it as a positive thing nowadays, to be honest, because then it makes us a thing, you know, like we're drummers.
That's so my stereotype.
There you go.
Right?
But where I was going with this is, like, it took me years to understand that to be a producer, to be someone giving some sort of direction and supporting a band, you don't have to be like the master of music theory.
That's right.
You
yeah.
don't have, because that was always a thing for me. I would go to my friends' band practices, or I was playing with friends and I was looking at them and I could see flaws. I could see problems. But because I can't read music, because I'm not a guy who knows C, D, E, F, I was like, how am I going to tell this to them? They're going to tell me to fuck off, you know? Like, you don't even know what you're saying. And then I realized that it goes way deeper than that. That sometimes all the person needs is that direction of someone who can see it from.
Yeah, so I'm the same way. I can't read music and I don't play other instruments other than drums. So I battle with that constantly. But there's different kinds of producers, and one of my favorite producers is Rick Rubin. And well, I believe he does actually play some instruments, but he's all about listening to it from the perspective of a fan. What would a fan want to hear? And making things exciting and that kind of stuff. So you don't have to necessarily know exactly how to play some crazy chord to be able to tell the band to do something differently that's going to be more exciting, you know?
Are the musicians you work with, I know it's hard to put them in a box, but like, do people usually take your advice, or they see you like some people see you as the guy pressing the button? Like, do musicians understand? I know, right? But I know that it's, but you know, but that's how I would see when I was a teenager. I would come to a studio and I would look at the guy and I was like, what is he doing? He's just recording what we're doing. And when you're a teenager, when you're younger, kind of like, I know what I'm doing, you know? So like, how is to deal with the ego of an artist?
Luckily, because I've been doing it a while, by the time they've decided they want to work with me, they've already decided they want to listen to me. But it hasn't always been like that. And a huge part of that is learning how to deal with people and read situations and phrase things in a way that you're not going to piss them off and you're going to get them, you know, to basically think it was their idea or whatever, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I haven't had too much trouble with that. And to be honest, like at the end of the day, they're paying me to record their song. And if they really, really want to do it their way, it's fine. They can do it their way. It could be shit, but if they want it that way, then usually what we do is I try and suggest that we try it a couple of different ways and record a couple of different ways and then play it back to them. And often what happens is once they actually hear it the other way, against their way, they go, oh, actually, yeah, that's right, yeah. But I'm not always right, you know, sometimes I'm wrong. And it's good to always try both ways.
Do like when you worked with let's say bigger bands, like was there someone from their team, let's say someone that would stay next to you to do that middle ground, or like your job, it's your job, they trust you, or when it's a bigger band, there's more people involved?
There can be more people involved, but usually it's funny, but actually the bigger they are, the more they trust me, and the younger and more inexperienced they are, the more they think they're right. So by the time a band has become, you know, reasonably well known, they understand what a producer is for because they've worked with producers before and they want a producer and they want that outside input, you know. So yeah, but it's always different. And sometimes there's that whole thing of like there might be 3 different personalities in the band and they all want something different, and then it's more about just figuring out like the way through that everyone gets what they want, you know, finding the compromises and all that stuff.
What about the writing, Anusha? Like,
I was just thinking that sounded really hard. To have to like navigate people's that's hard.
Egos,
but
personalities.
But I guess there's some similar challenges when it comes to writing for someone, because it's so important to get people's thoughts and ideas. I would say a lot of bullet points you come across, a lot of little notes. They have to turn into something presentable, well written. And how is that relationship with the clients when you are putting your soul there, what you see to what they expect, to what they wanted to see?
Yeah. I think something I've noticed and have started learning from is that not everybody thinks with a comms brain, with a marketing brain, right? And sometimes I've assumed that they understand, you know, where I'm coming from when they're actually, that's not their mindset at all. So, you know, if someone gives me raw material and they're like, we want to create some sort of visual, you know, video or photo or infographic, and we need this, and this text, and they give it to me in draft. As time has gone on, people have trusted me to just...
You all right? You okay,
dear.
Jess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna flop.
Yep.
People have trusted me to just take what they give and turn it into something. It always helps to, like, for them to tell me a little bit of their expectations. Like, this is what we see the end product being. And generally I seem to be okay with it. Like, I seem to get, you know, make what they want. Maybe sometimes I'm a little bit too efficient and I'll maybe jump ahead a little bit. Like, you know, I guess my brain just kind of works, you know, forward thinking quite a bit. And so I'm like, oh, have you tried, you know, blah, 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 to try and do this as well. And again, most people are receptive to that, which is cool. So, yeah, I think it is clarifying expectations, especially when it comes to social media and, you know, advertising as well. Like, you know, promoting something and people have, you know, high expectations about something. It's kind of, you know, keeping it realistic for them and not promising too much or over-promising and saying, I can get 1,000 people to your event when I actually don't know that I can. But I will do my best to do it, you know.
Right. Do you write, Jess?
Do I write?
Like journaling or something? Do you do some sort of... Not your thing?
No, not really. Really.
Drawing?
I do like to draw. Yeah. I do like to. I haven't for a long time, though. I just find it really hard to sit down and draw a picture.
You've got lots of art everywhere.
Yeah. So when I was a little bit younger, I used to sort of draw a lot in my spare time. But yeah, just not so much anymore. I think it's like something to do with my brain.
Closer to Anusha, is that what you said? No, it's good. Thank you.
Yeah, something to do with my brain. I just can't sit there and...
Did you come up with some of your own tattoos?
No.
Did you? No. But the ideas, like you describe, you tell, or you kind of give like, oh, that's what I...
When I was young, like 17, I would just see something and be like, yep, well, I'll have that. And I did that like probably once a month for like 2 years. That's why. So how we ended up where we are.
There you go.
But I do actually have a drawing that I did when I was probably in my maybe more late teens that I really want to get tattooed, actually, but I don't know where it is. So.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's really cool though. I like it's like a lady with I have to show you one day. It's very cool.
Tell us.
Oh, well, it's like a lady and she's like standing there and she's got like octopus. Her hair is like octopus tentacles. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. I don't know what it is.
So that's what's the name of that myth? The Medusa.
Very similar. Very
That's
similar
snakes,
sort of
right?
idea. Yeah, but snakes.
Yeah.
Snakes, right? Not octopus.
No.
Snakes. That's right. What's your guys' way of decompressing? Do you also write for yourself, like as a hobby?
No, I mean I should, and I want to. But
It would be hard though when you do it for a job,
yeah,
wouldn't
it's.
it?
I think when the weekend comes or a day off comes, it's kind of like the last thing I want to do. Same with social media stuff as well. Like, you'll ask me for help on a post or something on the weekend. I'm like, nah,
man.
I'm off the clock.
Yeah, sorry.
But I think like mental health wise, I think journaling would probably be really good. And I've had several people tell me that I should, just to get things on paper, and same with art stuff. Like, it's that starting thing. Like I've got, canvas and pens and paper and all that kind of stuff, but the actual act of starting, I haven't gotten past that. Yeah.
It's the same thing with like going to the gym. The hardest thing is getting your foot in the door, and then after that, it's
Wow.
You just have to start.
What about you, Dave? Do you get to smash those drums when no one is around?
It's the same thing, man. I've just, by the time I've done, 10-hour days for a week, the last thing I want to do is play the drums. I mean, I'm exhausted, so I just watch TV, or I would love to go for a bushwalk, but that doesn't happen nearly as often as it should.
No, it doesn't.
I got into like photographing wildlife for a while,
Oh,
and that was cool because it's super relaxing, because you're like, you have to sit still and you've got to concentrate on some technology, which suits me, but also I just couldn't get out often enough to do it.
Birds are cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, native birds of choice, but it petered out because I just didn't have the time. Yeah.
You watch a lot of like music producer videos and things like that.
That's true.
That's your
Yep.
downtime, eh?
It's research.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of a creative career, isn't it? Like you find pleasure in enjoy, like you enjoying something and you're still learning. It's like
Yeah.
for me with like, I'm not saying that the podcasting will be like the main career for me, but like I enjoy listening to people talking. I learn skills from listening to people, so I feel like I'm learning something, because most of the time it's cool content and I'm paying attention to those techniques. Same with drumming, like I'm loving those songs and I'm going hard and I'm still breaking down that pattern, I'm like, oh, what is he doing there, like, so it's sort of a practice at the same time. I think we're lucky in that sense of being artists, that like we relax and we're still enjoying our craft.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of sci-fi television that's just completely nothing to do with reality, so that I don't have to think,
And reading.
Reading.
Yeah.
What have you been reading, Anusha?
Well, I'm rereading a series called The Wheel of Time, which is a 14-book
Wow.
fantasy series, which I've been on and off obsessed with for years. And it's very well written, detailed, it's like Lord of the Rings times 10, it's very, very cool. And so I have the whole series now, and that's kind of my go-to for, even though I've read it before, it's 14 books long, so you don't remember everything.
By the time we get to the last one, it'll
Yeah.
be fresh.
Yeah.
You start again.
So I'll just, start somewhere and sit down and read for a while, and that, that stops me thinking about, work stuff for a little bit. Or just reading, even just reading online, like news or social justice, social changey stuff.
What upsets you the most that we are in 2022 and we still haven't got it sorted? Boom, there you go. Let's drop some bombs.
Oh, man.
I'd like to say
Off we go.
snare drum sounds. No,
There you go, some snare for you, man. I know. I'm sure that there's a list of things that really upsets us. But for someone who is involved, for someone who is working with these causes, what still like makes you like, fuck, really? Come on, guys, come on.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Poverty in this country, poverty in New Zealand, poverty in a developed country pisses me off. I can't get my head around it. I can't get my head around how many homeless people there are on the streets in Auckland. When we were working at the depot, actually, I used to take public transport to get to Devonport, and I'd walk down Queen Street in the morning to go catch the ferry at the bottom of the bottom of town, and I just, walking past all these homeless people, rough sleepers, just, I can't get my head around it. I can't get my head around the fact that in a country like ours, that's such a massive issue, and there's so much inequality, wealth inequality. Mm-hmm. More than I ever thought, actually. Probably as I've gotten older, I've learned more. I've, maybe not firsthand always, but seen more. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah.
That's one.
That's one.
Oh, God.
That's one. Dave, let's give Anusha a break.
I'm only here to talk about music, really.
Oh, okay. So let's go back to the snare sound. So what are we talking about?
The St. Angus snare drum, that's one. I don't know. So,
does it upset you, Dave, that do you think we could be getting more support for artistic movements? Like, do you think New Zealand could be paying more attention to like how we give musicians a living? I don't want to steer, but like, because you work with this, like you see these people.
It's real tricky because I've been on both sides of it. Like, so I played in a band for a long time in the 2000s. We did a couple of albums and toured around a lot, and we received NZONA funding for videos and single recording and stuff. So that was amazing. You know, we couldn't have done what we did without that. But I don't see any NZONA money these days. Like, it's going to bands mostly I've never even heard of. And I work in the music industry, so I find a little bit weird. But the bands I am working with are finding a way, and sometimes I think that the bands that just figure out how to do it for themselves are actually the more passionate ones that are really, really, just going for it regardless and finding a way to make it happen. So I can totally see the benefit of both of those two sides. I'm not. What was the question? Funding. Should everything be funded? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I want more money. It's great.
It would make more sense,
right? It would
right?
be so much easier. But how do you choose which bands get funding? There's millions. There's so many bands, and there's so many good bands. And then there's so many good solo artists, and there's so many different genres of music. Like, how do you divide up all of that money?
Our government likes handing out money. I'm sure they'd find a way.
Yeah, but like I say, I saw the list today of the latest people that have got funding, and I probably recognised half the names. But that's not to say that they're not all amazing artists. I'm sure they are, you know. I think I've just ended up in a genre of like sort of rock and metal that's a little bit left of mainstream or something.
Thank you. Back to poverty.
I've got another one.
You got another one? Cool. Yeah. We gave you time. We gave you time.
Basically, you just need to scroll through my Facebook feed to find all the things that piss me off.
Give us another one on the show.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
So I spent maybe about a year and a half working for Inner City Women's Group as their marketing person, and that's a domestic violence prevention agency in Auckland. And I did marketing one day a week for them when I was in the office, and part of my role was to do some admin as well, just to help out. It was a very small team, and it was filing all these cases of women who had experienced domestic violence or intimate partner violence, and I knew it was a thing. I didn't realise how much of a thing it was. There's a statistic, 1 in 3 women will experience some form of domestic violence or intimate partner violence in their lifetime, whether it comes from being in an intimate relationship or, you know, in a family situation as well. Like, it's a really, really bad problem. But there's a culture of, what's the word? Maybe you can help me. A culture of, like, not violence exactly, but that she'll be right attitude, that putting the sports people, the rugby players on pedestals, you know, letting certain sports players get away with things, you know, like, there's something in this culture that I think needs to change. It's not as simple as giving funding to a domestic violence prevention group. It's systemic. It comes from somewhere deeper.
The movie Once Were Warriors, is that the name? Sorry, Once Were Warriors was like what, from more than 30 years ago?
It would be
90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 30 years ago.
And that was one of the main subjects of the movie, right? Would you say that things got worse, or now there's more voice, like people are speaking up, women are going out there and saying, or like it's one of those things that just take time to change? And
I think it takes time. I think there is people are more vocal about it. There is more, in the news about it. There's more advocacy about it. But the core issue still remains the same. If you're in a relationship that when you have a violent partner and they are physically or psychologically abusing you and you can't get out because you're afraid of, being hurt or being, in some cases killed, then no domestic violence agency can stop that. There's some kind of violence that is in New Zealand culture, I think, that creates a bit of this problem. And it's probably related to the other issues that New Zealand has as well, like the wealth inequality and the poverty and stuff like that, if you're...
I often wondered when there was, excuse me, things like lockdown, how that affects domestic violence, because maybe if you're if you're in a couple like that and you get to go to work, but then, when you're stuck at home, does it escalate? Does it get worse?
Yeah.
But there's a really great, well, it's not great, but there's an analogy about, why don't you just leave? That's so you put a frog in a pot and the water's cold when the frog first gets in, turn the gas on, and then it gets warmer, but the frog's already in there, so it doesn't really notice because it, it just gets warmer and warmer. The frog stays in warmer and warmer because it's getting used to it, and then it finally boils and it, dies. But then, if you just put a frog in a pot that's really hot, it would go, there, I'm out, So that's sort of when you start your relationship and it's great and it's perfect, and then it starts sort of downhill as the boiling of the pot.
You don't give too much attention to the little things that can be signs.
Maybe,
right?
yeah. But then, say you met someone and they bashed you, you'd be like, oh, no,
I think this is a good segue to the youth thing that I think it's important for us to bring up, because we're involved with some cool projects, and a lot of the issues can be stopped there with a good approach to the youth, and that's why it was good that you were talking about the Gumboot Friday, looking after the young people. At what level and how do you guys get involved? You were just part of a cool project with the school, and music and the arts seem to be this great outlets, sports, What's the take for you guys? Sports, yeah. I was just teasing you, man. But maybe you guys can even, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how was your youth, how was your approach to the arts and to paying attention to what was happening around you, and as you grew up, you started to pay attention to things in a different way. If you guys feel comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, my aversion to sports purely comes from going to school at Magri Bay Area School in the 80s, there was a tiny music department and a bunch of rugby teams. Yeah. It wasn't great for someone who's not interested in sports.
What do you mean you don't like rugby?
It's the one with the funny shaped ball, eh? Yeah.
I think so. Don't ask me.
So yeah, I mean, that shaped my whole life, really. So definitely how schools teach art and how they value art and music. I think it's hugely important.
Anusha?
Can you just ask the question one more time?
Just your take on what work can we do with the youth, and even relating to when you were a young person, did you have access to good opportunities? Did you feel the school that you were in?
Yeah,
they
actually
were
my high
supportive?
school was cool. So I went to Onehunga High School in Auckland. I don't think I did many sports. I think I did hockey for a little while, but there was access to, art department and stuff like that. I had supportive art teachers who really sort of, I did well in art, and they kind of supported me to keep doing it after school and everything, after finishing high school. But if I think about the headspace that I was in when I was a teenager, especially in the 16, 17, 18, my mental health wasn't good. And there was nothing at school that I could do, there was nothing at school that could help me with that. I couldn't I guess, find any help.
Did you know that, or now it's you as an adult looking back and realizing that was happening, or you were aware of that when you were that age?
I don't think I'd realised the extent of it. I think I knew something wasn't quite right, and it wasn't until about 10 years later that I went and got some help. But when I was in high school, I was just, there was a couple of years, the last 2 years of high school especially, where I was just there was stuff going on at home. It was in my head. I was bringing it to school, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And there was no one in my high school that I could go to talk about that kind of stuff. Like, there was no Gumboot Friday, there was no, like, free counselling that, probably could have really helped, I guess, keep me from spiralling further after school and stuff. So, yeah, I think when I think about what needs to be at school now, mental health support comes to top of mind. Like, I think that's one of the main things that I think I could have really used then. And I know a lot of kids around New Zealand could use as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, when I got some help, it was in my mid-20s, and it's not free. It's not, it's not long term. You have to be referred by a doctor and all that kind of stuff. So I think the accessibility part especially was, that's something that hopefully is going to change.
I think it's really hard to sort of ask for help as well. It's sort of hard for you to reach out to, again, take the first step.
Yeah.
It's hard for you to be like, I need to talk to someone about this. There's something going on that I need to speak to someone about.
Yeah. So. I think when you're that age, I personally just thought, I guess that's just how it is. I guess that's just how I am, or this is what life is. Yeah. And it hasn't been until, 20 years later where I'm like, that actually wasn't okay.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah. that wasn't right. I shouldn't have been feeling like that. So, yeah.
Cool. I have 2 questions from our audience. I really want to touch on the album project that you guys did with the Magri Bay Area School. But before we do that, I'm just gonna read the questions from God damn, Leroy. One is from Molly Malai, which is Molly from the Monkey Theatre.
Hi, Molly.
Kia ora. So Molly asks, question for Dave. Did you always want to be a producer, engineer, or was it being in a band and recording your own music your goal?
I guess I didn't know what a producer was when I was young, but I started playing drums when I was about 13 or 14, and I think so. I was kind of bagging on the school a little bit, but we did have a couple of really cool people there that were very supportive. One of them was Paul Lee, who's still around the area, and the other is Richard Piper, who's passed away. But Paul organised a school recording trip to a recording studio. So I was in the school band at the time, and we went up to Sandy Bay at the top of the peninsula, and there was this recording studio in a barn. And it was super cool. Like, I just kind of got hooked. That, and because my parents are musicians, I'd been in a studio when I was a bit younger with my dad, so I didn't really understand it, but I just thought it was a really cool environment. So I was interested in recording from about the same time as when I started playing the drums, and had a 4-track cassette recorder that I used to record drums on at home and play with my mates at school, and we'd record songs and stuff. Long before YouTube would tell you how to do anything, just have to figure it out yourself. And then, I think it was probably not until, I went and studied audio engineering and finished that in 95. And then
this year I was born.
Oh! Thank you, Jess.
I'm old.
Looking great, though.
I was going to say, I studied, and then, but even then, that was only teaching us how to record. It wasn't teaching us how to produce. And it wasn't until I started recording lots of bands that I just figured it out. That they need more than just a technical person to know how to record something. They need a person to guide them through the whole process. getting the best performances out of them, helping them with their songwriting, all of that sort of stuff. So I don't know when I started thinking that, but it was probably more like the 2000s. Does that answer your question, Molly?
She will let us know. I think it does. And then our second question, it's from Mr. Stupidly. Yeah.
Aww.
I think we should talk about those tracks, but before we do that, I'm just going to read.
So you're going to ask about what I thought of him in the studio?
The question is for Anusha, my friend. So, Anusha, for you, as a non-musician who seems to feel music really intensely and viscerally, is that how I say the words? Viscerally? Do you ever give Dave feedback or suggestions on tracks he's working on? Thanks, too. So just before you answer that, Mr. Stupidly will be our guest on the 7th of December. He's releasing his tracks that he recorded with Mr. Dave. Beautiful tracks.
Which have Leo on drums.
Yeah, smashing the drums. And the first track, it's on CFM now. So for the people who are anywhere in the world, you can listen to the CFM online, but for the people in the area, make sure to go on CFM and you have the pleasure to listen to Stu's new song, Christmas song for my...
It's called...
Sorry, Stu. God damn, brother. It's live. I'm nervous now.
It's called Phone Call to My Dad.
Phone Call to My Dad. At Christmas.
No, just
I don't think it is.
Stu, can you...
It's an undercover Christmas song.
God damn, that was the worst. Sorry, brother. But he'll come here and you can listen to the track. And thank you so much, Stu. Do you give Dave Phone Call to My Dad at Christmas? I'm pretty sure you guys are right. Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes, yeah, and maybe a bit more recently, because I've learned so much from him about the process of making music. Always been a long time music fan. If I'm thinking about the mental health stuff, like music was my go-to to find solace and strength and all that kind of stuff. So, what was the question again? It was...
I can answer this.
Do you ever give Dave feedback or suggestions on tracks?
100%. Yes, she does.
Yes, I do.
And it's great.
Because I think that I'm not thinking about the technical aspects too much. So you'll play me something and I will tell you within seconds, it's a gut feeling that's shit or that's not good.
Which is perfect. Which is exactly what I need to hear, because I've just spent 5 hours trying to make the snare drum sound right. And she's like, this is a really average song. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Amazing.
But the snare drum sounds killer.
Yeah.
No, I actually really, really value that non-musician perspective. It's important because most of the people that are going to listen to the music are not musicians. So when you try and make everything perfect for musicians, you actually quite often don't end up with something cool.
Yeah, because I generally will always want music to make me feel something, whether it's, angry metal or chill like R&B or soul or something like that.
It's a dog.
It's a dog.
Oh, I see. I feel it in here, and I think, it doesn't take me long to say whether it's not just your music, it's just any music. I'm like, oh yeah, I like that. Oh, that makes me feel good. Oh, that, taps into my inner rage. I love that sort of thing. Yeah.
Which is the ultimate goal of when I'm mixing, is to get an emotional reaction from somebody. So I don't really care if a musician goes, wow, that guitar solo is really fast and amazing. I want someone who doesn't know anything about music to listen to it and go, this sounds cool. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel angry.
The first time,
whatever,
and Stu knows this because I told him, the first time he played A Phone Call to My Dad, I cried.
Phone Call to My Dad at Christmas.
He cried, and I was like, yes, I nailed it.
And I'm so not a Christmas person either. There was something very special and touching about that song that, gets loud and then it comes back and it gets quiet again.
And lyrically, it's really engaging.
I haven't heard it.
It's a beautiful song.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
It's a beautiful song. Okay, so before we wrap it up, amazing new project that you were involved, Mister, with the Magri Bay Area School, recording some tracks. How was that experience?
That was super cool. I was a little bit nervous about going into the school after having a not awesome time there myself. But it is a completely different school than when I was there.
It's a lot bigger, right?
Yeah, and the way the whole arts department, the music department, theatre department, the whole thing, like none of that was there when I was there. They've got a recording studio, which is incredible.
In the school, recording in the school?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Incredible.
So we did the whole recording at the school, apart from a couple of tiny things we did at my place, which was more for the experience of bringing the students to a different studio. Rather, I could have done it at the school. It was just the experience, yeah. And yeah, it was super cool. I really wanted them to focus on songwriting because I think ultimately that's the most important thing, rather than like getting everything technically perfect in the recording. So we spent quite a bit of time workshopping the songs, and 6 different groups of people recorded 6 original songs.
Wow.
And they're all up on Spotify, so you can listen to them.
South Highway,
It's called South Highway, yep.
Magri Bay Area School.
Yep.
Yes.
Not just Spotify, all streaming platforms.
Awesome. Was it cool to see that coming together, Anusha?
Yeah, definitely. And the release party that was at Monkey House was incredible. I mean, I got to hear, I actually didn't hear any of those tracks when you were mixing them and stuff like that, but you would come home from school. You'd come home from school feeling really good. And I've always thought Dave's a really great teacher and a really great mentor. And writing about it for the magazine about how important mentoring is at that age, especially arts mentoring, because yeah, even if there was, I mean, I didn't know I was going to do comms for a really long time, but if there was somebody at school who was like, this is what it's actually like, I think that's, you know, having somebody who's been out there and done the thing is really important.
Yeah, I hope they. I mean, the feedback I got was that they loved it.
Parents love you.
Yeah.
The parents love you.
But yeah, no, I think that most of them really did seem to get something out of it. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks.
What an asset. For
Congratulations to the
Coromando.
students. They're the ones that did all the work.
They did very well, Yeah.
Yeah, they did awesome.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Do you ever get to work with famous people?
Yes.
Who is the most famous person, if you're allowed to talk about it?
I'm just about to do some new recordings for Devilskin,
No,
which is
you're
going to be
not.
pretty killer. Yeah.
That's an exclusive.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't really been talking about it because it hasn't happened yet. But usually I don't talk about things until after they've happened because
Yeah.
so many things get organised and never happen. But that's coming up only a few weeks away, so that's definitely happening.
So cool.
Are you going to them or they're coming to you?
We'll do that all at Roundhead.
Oh man,
Yeah,
if
it's
they
gonna
were
be
coming
killer.
to your garage, you'd have to let me know so I could
You
make
have to
sure
drop
I'm
off some
there.
packages, eh?
Oh my god.
Yeah, right.
You know that
Yeah.
we had Paul Martin here.
Yeah. Yep. That's cool. I mean, over the years, I did the first Blindspott album, which is kind of the
so
thing that I'm most
cool.
well known for.
Oh, that's so cool too.
So I recorded the first 2 songs and then mixed the rest of the album. Someone else recorded it. I don't know.
Hollie Smith was
I
there?
did one song with Hollie Smith, which was it was for a Crowded House compilation of other people singing Crowded House songs. Cool. She sang this beautiful version of Weather With You with just her and a piano.
She's incredible.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
Sometimes it's just, you're like, how am I in the room with this person, you know? I don't know.
Which ones were like great? I know that it's hard to pick, but like the ones that you were like, man, whoa, like what
Is
a
this
band
my
or what a
life?
guy or
That
what an
was cool.
artist.
I did, I was going to say a few years ago, the other day, maybe 5 or 7 years ago, I did an album with the RHODES, who are like a kind of legendary Kiwi kind of country-ish kind of band. That was super cool. We recorded the whole thing in 2 days, just live.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I don't even think they were going to release it as an album. It was just supposed to be them doing some demos and getting back together after they hadn't played together for a while. And they called me up a few weeks later and like, man, we love this so much, we're going to release it as an album.
Wow.
And it went gold, I think. And it went to like,
Awesome.
I'm not sure what the actual sales numbers were, but it was like, you know, top 10 kind of album. And I was like, this is crazy. What else? I'm doing some stuff with Push Push soon, which is quite exciting because they're like a band from my youth. They were big when I was a kid, which is cool.
What about anyone international?
Tell them about
been-
Alex and the what are they called?
Shameless.
Shameless.
So I've done an album with this. So I mixed an album for this German kind of, I'd say, hair metal band, but they're mostly Alex, the main guy who produces it and is in charge. He's very well connected in the LA scene, so he's got all these guests, and it had Bruce Kulick, who was a guitarist in Kiss.
Wow.
Tracy Guns from LA Guns.
My favorite formation, to be honest.
Oh, really?
That was Bruce
Nice.
Kulick, Eric Singer.
Yeah. Oh, it had Eric Singer on it. Man, the drum track.
Sorry,
Eric Singer's-
Anusha, musician's moment.
There was only one song with Eric Singer, but his drum track was like spot on.
Oh,
It was
really?
So good.
Was a big inspiration for me at the time because
Yep.
my drum teacher was a big fan of Eric Carr.
Oh, yeah.
So I loved Eric Carr for years, but then I got that Revenge album, and I was like, "What the fuck is this drumming? Where is this coming from?" And then I realized that there was this
Right.
tiny guy
Right, yeah.
smashing it. So I was like, "Whoa, okay."
I
and that
think,
was, yeah,
is he playing with Kiss again now?
yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah. Last tour, right? I think it's
yeah.
the farewell. Well, they always say it's the last tour, right? Like they know how to make money. All right,
Yeah.
cool. So he
who else was
recorded
on
in
that?
this project.
There was a few others too. The singer from Bowling for Soup was on one song.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
It's
that
crazy.
band? Was it that band that went after 48 May? Oh, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
No, well, I don't know,
Well,
right? I'm so sorry,
mean-
guys. I don't know the story.
I feel like that's labels and lawyers rather than band members.
I'm just friends with Vegas. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, international stuff. There's a few that I've met that I haven't actually recorded, but I did I organised a rehearsal once at a studio I was working in with Elvis's original backing band, the TCB band, and I got to spend the day with those guys, and man, they're the coolest cats. So cool.
What, the drummer plays on your drum kit?
Yeah, they used my kit. It's cool. He's passed away, unfortunately,
Oh,
just
damn.
recently. And the guitarist and the keyboard player, 3 of them. Very cool.
Awesome.
I don't know.
That's so cool.
I don't know.
That'll do.
That'll do.
I'm
Devil
sure I've
Stylus,
missed
very
someone
cool.
real. I did an album with John Rowles. That was crazy. I can't think of anyone
I
else.
don't know.
Fun.
That was so bad.
Great names. Fun. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool. Guys, that was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And you survived, Anusha.
Wait.
Yeah, it was not as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Great. So I'll bring you guys back. And just for the people who are listening and know how important and relevant Mr. Alan Rhodes is,
Yes.
we didn't mention much because you know that I want to bring him here.
Oh, get him here. Get him in here.
I think it makes more sense, right?
100%,
Than
yeah.
asking you to
Yeah,
tell his
get-
stories.
Get him in here. Yeah.
Cool.
He's very funny.
Yes.
He is.
So to be like, I don't want to spoil it, but
Pottery, yeah.
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 And musician.
I want to bring Stu as a guest so I can bring him as a co-host.
Cool.
And I think that would be a good duo, right? Alan Rhodes and Stu.
It'll be funny.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. That was cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Yes.
joining
And
us.
Thank you.
just, congratulations on the show. It's been so cool. We came here when you first got this room and told us about your ideas. And I think it's just a huge asset to Coromandel, and proud to
And
call
the
you.
world.
And the
the
world, yeah.
world.
And we're just really proud to call you our friend, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
and thank
Jess.
Thanks,
Anytime.
Jess.
Yeah.
Anytime.
you. Good to properly meet you, Jess.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see you.
I'll probably see you maybe next
Yeah.
week.
We're going to go for some pizza and some wine now. And for you watching us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m., you know what to do. Subscribe to our channel. Let's enjoy the weekend. Peace. Namihi. Kakite.